This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Indian private refiners that have leveraged cheap Russian crude to boost margins will be forced to find workarounds and rely more on traders to find new markets for their products after the latest round of European Union sanctions, traders and industry sources said. Russia is India's top oil supplier, and refiners such as Reliance Industries and Nayara Energy have benefited in recent years from pressure on Russian crude prices from sanctions linked to its invasion of Ukraine. Many have then exported refined products to buyers in Europe. However, in its 18th package of sanctions against Russia, approved on Friday, the European bloc banned imports of refined petroleum products made from Russian crude coming from third countries, excluding a handful of Western nations.
Oil prices declined on Tuesday amid concerns the brewing trade war between major crude consumers the US and the European Union will curb fuel demand growth by lowering economic activity. Brent crude futures were down 28 cents, or 0.40%, to $68.93 a barrel at 0658 GMT. US West Texas Intermediate crude was at $66.83 a barrel, down 37 cents, or 0.55%. Both benchmarks settled slightly lower on Monday. The August WTI contract expires on Tuesday and the more active September contract was down 29 cents, or 0.44%, to $65.66 a barrel.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Global fusion energy investment grew by $2.64 billion in the year since last July, an industry group said in an annual industry survey on Monday, but companies said they need much more money to take the industry commercial. The investment rise took place in places including the United States, the EU, Japan, China and Britain and was the highest since 2022. Total funding since 2021 for the 53 fusion companies in the survey by the Washington-based Fusion Industry Association is now nearly $9.77 billion, a five-fold increase. This year's investment was a 178% jump from the more than $900 million raised last year.
Turkey has submitted a draft proposal to Iraq to renew and expand an energy agreement between the two countries to include cooperation in oil, gas, petrochemicals and electricity, an Iraqi oil ministry official told the state news agency late on Monday. The statement came after Ankara announced the end of a decades-old agreement covering the Kirkuk-Ceyhan oil pipeline. The Ministry of Oil is in the process of reviewing the draft agreement sent by the Turkish side and negotiating with them regarding it to reach a formula that serves the interests of Iraq and Turkey, the Iraqi oil ministry official added. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Iron ore futures prices rose on Tuesday, buoyed by expectations of further stimulus after Beijing unveiled a $170 billion hydropower project to boost economic growth. The most traded September iron ore contract on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange, DCE, traded 1.74% higher at 817 yuan, $113.93, a metric ton, as of 0313 GMT. The benchmark August iron ore on the Singapore Exchange was 0.89% higher at $104.40 a ton.
The most traded metals contracts on the Shanghai Futures Exchange rose on Tuesday, supported by signs of better demand from China as authorities vow to stabilize industrial growth and a major hydropower project in Tibet. SHFE nickel gained 1.41% to 123,400 yuan, $17,205.30 per ton as of 0100 GMT. Earlier during the session, it hit 124,180 yuan, the highest since May 22. Copper added 0.67% to 79,790 yuan, tin rose 0.61% to 267,200 yuan, zinc grew 0.26% to 22,845 yuan and lead advanced 0.15% to 16,960 yuan.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Chicago wheat futures fell on Tuesday as top exporter Russia began to ship grain from its new crop, underscoring expectations of plentiful supply in the months ahead. Corn and soybean futures rose slightly, clawing back some of the previous session's losses amid a mixed weather outlook in the United States. The most active wheat contract on the Chicago Board of Trade was down 0.4% at $5.40 a bushel at 0253 GMT, hovering close to the 5-year low of $5.06 one-quarter hit in May.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.